Kharkov. And the first thing that you'll notice is that it's quite a symmetrically similar map. As you can see, you've got the point here and a point here, which are both basically identical. The same goes for this bit here, and the city is pretty much the same on both sides. So here I am in my TVP, and I'm going to be using this to kind of demonstrate all the positions on the map, and it's not really anything to do with the class or whatever. I'm going to be showing you where the heavy tanks go, the light tanks go, the medium tanks go, TDs go, all within this. I'm not going to talk about SPGs because they're just going to sit at the back of the map either there or wherever, and it doesn't really matter. But first up, TDs. So where do the TDs go? Well, they'll go here, more than likely. Here, and obviously on the counter over there, is where the TDs are most likely going to be sitting. One thing that I will say is make sure you don't go into this bush. Like if you go into this bush and it becomes opaque, back off. Make sure the bush becomes fully solid, and then you can actually start shooting people. Why? Well, because if you're sitting like this, people that are spotting from this bush or, you know, over here, they'll be able to see you. Whereas if you're from this point, they're not going to be able to see you because the bush is concealing your position. So, honestly, either there or if you want to, then you could use this kind of thing as cover, and then you can only shoot, you know, these type of angles. But I wouldn't recommend it. I would say go back to about here, or wherever your tank can do gun depression wise to be able to shoot from these people over here, because yes, they're just inside your render range and you will be able to shoot them. Another useful position from this area is right here. You can actually spot the middle quite easily as long as you keep pushing back, because you don't want to be sitting out too long, because right from this position, yeah, you can get shot from that danger zone over there. But if you sit from about here, you can actually have nice shots on people that are coming through this chokehold here. And even, you know, you got shots on the cap. Another nice position for light tanks in the later game, if you've lost the city, is actually in this bush here. Now, as you see, there is actually a bush laying down here and here. Well, it's more of a tree, but you get what I mean. The reason why I knock these down is that this position here, you can easily spot it if you knock this bush down. And I only knocked this one down just so I can get a bit more vision. So knocking these trees down is kind of beneficial. And if you are going to go over here, then maybe that's something that you might want to do early on in the game. Having said that, you get great eyes on people that are coming out of this choke point here, because more than likely they'll come down this road and then they'll come this way. And if they, you know, come down this way, then you've got great eyes all the way along here. And if they come down this side, they'll come all the way down here, and they'll either go through this bit or this bit, and then you have eyes on both of them. So being a light tank in this position allows you to spot the enemy while you remain unspotted, and as long as you don't fire, you'll be fine. So that's basically everything around here. There's not too much to talk about, as this is kind of a basic position. You know, you don't want to get spotted. You can also sit here. Just depends on how you want to play it. The next position is more light tank and medium tanks, but I kind of found this position to be quite useful, especially if you're the first person here. Now, obviously, camo values while you're moving are going to be a lot less than when you're stationary. And as long as you make it to this bush and you're the first one, then you will get a lot of spotting damage, because you will spot the light tank that comes into the bush, providing of which you do have good view range. I mean, obviously he's going to have a good camo value anyway, because it is kind of through a bush and he hasn't shot. So as long as you do have good view range, you can actually counter spot the light tank as long as you get here before he does. Now from this position, you will spot everyone. You'll spot people here. You'll spot the mid. You'll spot here, even some people that are going to cross up to here, and if they peek over. As long as they don't peek past this bush, you're going to be safe, because this bush acts as basically your shield against them. Notice how the bush kind of is a little bit over. As long as they're there, you will spot them, but they won't spot you. Don't ask me, I know they're behind a bush and you will still spot them. It's magical. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, this spot is very nice for light tanks. This is where you kind of get your first brawling type of spot in the map. Right here. Hold down tanks are going to love this position, because you're just going to sit here trying to trade shots with people left, right and center. And then once you do win, or you know, you kill everyone around here, then you can actually push up to this position, have a little spot, then pull back. As soon as you try and peek this position though, and it becomes opaque, more than likely you're going to get spotted. So I wouldn't suggest sitting in this bush unless there is a completely blind TD there. So now what about the other side? Well, it's basically the same story. What you want to do is, oh, just spotted him over there. What you want to do is make sure that you sit over this side. A lot of people I see are going to go and sit here. Now, yes, this does work, but you get spotted easily from someone if they're in that position that I showed you. It's the same for if they basically do this, but on the other side. You don't want to be close to this ridge. You want to be kind of as far away as possible, but still have camo so that you're covered for a little bit from the mid. Both of these positions, both here and over there, will get you spotted if they go past a certain point at the mid, which is around about here. So, yeah, when you're spotting for this bush, always go left side, never too far right. As then you won't get spotted, well, you might not get spotted as much. If someone is sitting in the spot that I showed you though, then you might still get spotted depending on who arrives there first. Exactly the same thing is going to be over here. Now, what you'll realise is that the bush is basically the same. It's got a little bit of a gap and then there's a bush. Albeit this bush is actually a lot better because as long as you can hide, from them, you've actually kind of got a good little cover basis from there. You're not going to be spotted from the TDs over there, so you can just use this bush to kind of cover yourself from there, and then you'll still have shots on people over there. So I would argue that this side is a little bit better than that side, but it's not really going to make that much of a difference. It all depends on who wins this side mainly, and whoever loses that side is going to lose this position. It's not an overpowered position. This position here is much like the same on the other side. You can spot people over there, whatnot. It's very, very similar. Same goes for this position right here. Exactly the same bush near enough. Yeah, you don't have as good eyes on the cap though. There is a massive building in the way, so you can't actually spot the gap right there. Which is quite a big deal, because this cap is a lot more, I would say, open than this cap. You don't really have as much positional choice when you're capping this base when you do here, because you could just go and sit in the cap and go in front of a building and you'll be okay because you'll be covered from here. As you can see right here, if we go and sit in their cap, which, has a bush in it here, we're completely covered. The only place that they can shoot us is that tiny bit there, as you can see right there, but you will spot them because that doesn't have a bush in the way. So this cap is a lot more covered than the other cap. So, it is a little bit harder to cap this base than it is this one, but it should be okay still. Talking about the mid real quick, there's plenty of spots that you can sit in. Right away, I would suggest if you are going to go to the mid, you want to use this as cover. You don't want to be, kind of exposed in the middle, because once you're spotted and exposed in the mid, you're more than likely dead, because there are shooting points, as we've seen, all over the map on that side. And albeit, yeah, okay, there's not so many in the city, but you're going to be exposed quite a bit. I mean, around here, there's lots of dips and, bits and pieces that you can cover behind. But once you dip behind one thing, more than likely you're exposed to a different side. So, yeah, I wouldn't advise going down the middle. I know quite a few people do, and I don't really understand why too much, because you could just sit in one of these two bushes. But say you are an extremely fast tank and you get to one of these bushes, either this one here, or alternatively, you could get to even this one here. Although this is kind of for smaller tanks than the TVP, because as you can see, this is kind of, yeah, that's quite a big bush, quite a big tank for this bush. So, yeah, there are spots to sit in, but I wouldn't advise going down the middle. You can kind of brawl down this line, this trench, but I wouldn't recommend it. If you're going to brawl, then we're going to go on to that right now. Okay, so now let's talk about the right-hand side of the map. So this is the more brawling type of side. You're going to have your heavy and medium tanks there. You're going to have, heavy medium tanks can go over to that side, but it's, tanks that don't have gun depression, they're not going to be wanting to go over this side of the map, because you do need quite a bit of gun depression to actually make it work. So tanks like the 277, IS-7, maybe even the 430U, you're going to be wanting to go over this way. Now, the first spot that I'm going to show you is right over here, where most of the tanks in the game will go that are the heavy tanks. And that is right here. Now, from here, you'll be able to spot on the other corner, and as I said, the map is very symmetrical, so straight away, you're going to see it's basically identical. Having said that, there are both TD spots there and also there that people can sit. So if you do feel like you don't want to go over this side of the map, then you can sit in your TD, and as long as you stay behind the bush, you're all good to go, and you can just shoot people as and when they appear. Same goes for this side of the map, or sorry, that side of the map. You can actually go and sit behind these bushes, and as long as you're in the TD and you're behind the bush, you're all good. What I will say is that, yes, this position is quite nice for hold down tanks. It's not perfect because, as you can see, it does slope a little bit. So you're going to want to make sure that you are kind of as covered as possible. Your hull will be exposed a little bit because of how the sloping is. And I was in my IS-7. There was an Object 268 version 4. We were both exchanging shots. I hit him, and then he shot me in the hull, and I got ammo racked from this position. Literally like this. So yeah, this isn't a godlike hold down position, but it's good enough. Having said that, if there is no one there, then, or you get here really early, because the 277 is quite fast, you can get here before they actually arrive. So if you are in a faster heavy tank, then you can actually go all the way across, and then try and peek people right here. As always, once you do come to this position though, watch out for the TDs and anyone else that might be camping around there, because, you know, you're very exposed at this point. And then you can actually shoot people that are going to be around here and whatnot. And this is the position, you know, that you'll be able to see from here. This position, I would say, is actually better hold down than that position, because there's a little bit more of a slope protecting you. So yeah, this position's quite nice, especially for hold down tanks. So say one of the sides wins a battle, you've killed everyone on that side, or you've killed everyone here. Next thing that you're going to realize is that there's going to be people that are going to be around here. Now these chokeholds, there's one here and here. There's only one spot that people can shoot you from as you're crossing, or if you're coming down this corridor. And that is right side here. And then on that side, it's the left hand side. So that's something that you should really take note of, because these are not the same. This, people will come up from the right hand side. So the one closer to the north base is right. The one closer to the south side of the base is the left. So as you can see, you want to make sure that you know this. There's no point going around that corner and then you're thinking, okay, where's he going to come out of? Because straight away, if you know this, you know that he's going to appear left hand side. Or, you know, he's going to peek out through his right or your left. Same for this. You're going to then know that he's going to peek out through his left or your right. So that's that bit done. What about if you actually, I don't know, maybe go through here? Okay, so that's the top bit of the right-hand side done. So what about if you want to actually battle it out down this bit? And this is going to be the last bit. I would not advise going down here. That's kind of suicide, because you're going to get spotted by people here, here, in middle. Never go down this part of the map. Unless you know that it's clear on this side of the map and you can actually do a flanking maneuver, don't go down here. It's just not worth it. So straight away, you're going to be wanting to come in down this side. And right here, another like kind of slope where you can actually get some shots off. People are going to be meeting here and here. They're the main points that you're going to meet your enemies. So around this position, also through this gap here, people can come. Maybe there'll be one or two people that will try and shoot you through this gap. So be aware of that. So this side is it's quite nice to battle it out, especially if you're in, say, a mouse, because you get a lot of protection. If you're in a mouse and you come to, say, this window here, as soon as people try and push forwards, you're going to be quite strong right here. Having said that, you don't have the best of vision though. So if you are in a mouse, start off there, then move to here if you do get overrun. The same for kind of any other tank. You know, you always want to try and start on this side. The fact that this gap here kind of has nearly the same vision, although it doesn't really have exactly the same vision as this gap here, is kind of unbalanced-ish. But then again, it doesn't have as big of a mound, so you could use this a bit better for hold down location right here, although it's not really going to make any difference. Both of these spots are quite well armored for hold down tanks. As you can see, it's a nice easy spot on people that are actually going to be sitting there. Whereas the other side, no one's really going to be sitting over, on that left-hand side corner. Or at least not as much, because they're going to be coming straight from here. And the chances are they're going to stay on the right-hand side. Because that way, they actually have shots on people that are there. So yeah, this gap on this side of the map is a lot better than this gap. Because this gap has a building in its way, and it's just way too much. Like, if you want to hide, like, there's the gap right there, as you can see. If you want to hide, you just go back around here, and you just hide. You're then you're not exposed at all. You got shots on the enemies that are going to be here, and it's just happy days at that point. So yeah, that's basically Kharkov. I mean, there's not really much else that you can say about this map. It's quite well balanced. It's not the most balanced map in the game. It's not the best map. Well, I mean, for some people it might be the best map, but personally for me, it's not my favourite map in the game. But it's a pretty well balanced map. And I mean, there's plenty of spots that you can go around and start flanking people and trying to get different angles on enemies that you wouldn't really think of maybe in the game as much as other maps. Okay, so a quick 10-second-ish recap of where to go on the map. Depending on which side you spawn, if you're in a TD, you can either go here or over here. Same for this side, here or here. Light tanks, you want to try and get into this bush, and as I explained, go to the left-hand side of the bush or the right-hand side of the bush, depending on which side you spawned. Light tanks also can go into the mid, but I wouldn't recommend it. Medium tanks, you have a few options. You can either go right here and try and battle it out, or if you're a heavier medium tank, then you can go either there or there and try and kill the heavy tanks. Okay, so hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, then sub, leave a like, and also follow me on Twitch, join the Discord, and I will see you in a bit.